By the way, do you think we have already, the United States has already laid out the Recovery Act of Venezuela after Maduro?
You know, the United States government has given a lot of thought to that, and they've had a lot of conversations with a lot of partners on that. So I do think they're ready. But there's a variable there, which is there's going to be an election. Unless the military does a coup and sets up a military junta, if they accept the interim government, they're going to move to an election. And the question will be is what kind of government is elected, and how good a partner is that for accepting and processing the aid and support of the international community.
Right, so you're leaning towards the fact that Maduro is going to leave and Guaido will be able to form an interim government. Is that necessarily the right choice?
Well, constitutionally, that's the reality. Right. Under the Constitution, Guaido is the legitimate head of the government until they have a valid election.
And that, by the way, was a constitution that was formed by Chavez Maduro. So it's ironic they're now against their own constitution.
Hey Jim, what do you think? What do you think America's relationship with Venezuela looks like after Maduro is gone?
Well, I think we have to look broader in that. What does America's relationship with Latin America look like? We've partnered very well with other countries in dealing with this issue. If we are not overly intrusive and kind of forcing the solution on Venezuela, and it's a solution that really comes from Venezuelans, we're not going to get accused by the Mexicans of interfering with other people. We're not going to be seen as heavy-handed. So I think our stature in the region and our ability to partner with the region, that will have a significant boost. And I think it'll be a real blow to what we've seen with the corrosive capital from China and Russia. Other countries will look at this and they'll learn a lesson. Like, this is not a path to go down. We've already seen other countries like Sri Lanka, for example, learn the lesson of the debt trap and the intrusive and corrosive influence of Chinese money. Other countries will see that, and more importantly, civil societies will see that, and they will want to hold their governments to task and to standard about what kind of deals are they making with the Chinese, what kind of deals are they making with the Russians, and what kind of freedom are we giving away?
I just want to emphasize to our viewers just tuning in, this is live shots from the streets of Caracas. The second day it seems to be picking up steam, the anti-Maduro rallies in the streets all over Caracas. Now, we just focus on one city. It's the capital, the biggest city in Venezuela, the most important. That's where Maduro is. Presumably, that's where Guaido is. But this is happening all over the country. And keeping with what you just said, Jim, I'm wondering if Maduro does leave, that cuts off the oil supply to Cuba. Does that mean that the Cuban regime's days are numbered?
Well, I think regardless of what happens, the regime in Cuba comes out at the worst end of this. I mean, they're going to get so much pushback from the U.S. that essentially all the goodwill and all the access and everything they've achieved in the last few years under Obama, they squandered all that away. And the Cuban people, you know, much like in Iran, where the Iranian people stood up and they go, why are you spending all this money on Hezbollah in Syria and we are starving? The Cuban people at some point are going to go, why are you in all these foreign adventures? And we're suffering from that. Companies that were going to come and build hotels, companies that were going to bring cruise ships, flying in tourists, all that evaporates overnight because of you. I mean, that's got to put a lot of pressure on the Cubans.
Jim, how do you know what happens next in Venezuela isn't worse? I mean, when Chavez died, we thought Venezuela has now a chance to turn into a democracy. You had an election. It looked like that election was certainly rigged. But how do you know the next worst bad guy or a worse bad guy gets in power in Venezuela and this thing doesn't deteriorate? We've not had a great success rate at a regime change around the world.
Well, there are things there are some things that are really different. I mean, you know, like, I'm not a partisan guy. I don't do politics. But let's be honest. Under President Obama, they just basically tolerated and even stood by and watched what went on in Venezuela. And the State Department was absolutely inert on this. So the United States was not engaged. That's one. The second thing is the international community and the regional community was not engaged and organized and didn't have American leadership. That's changed. And I think the third thing that's changed is in Guaido, you do have a transitional leader who has legitimacy and who has international support. So I think those are three factors that are different this time around.